tried for a policeman, he'd never melt the crowd, and everybody said he is the handsomest man in town.
Mrs. Ralston, try and think!
I can't think, my head's numbed.
Mrs. Boyle had only just been killed when you got to her.
Yes.
You've come from the kitchen. Are you sure you didn't see or hear anything as you come along the hallway?
No, I don't think so. Just a radio playing out from here. I couldn't think you turned it on so loud. I wouldn't hear anything else with that, would I?
Clearly the murderer's idea. The murderess.
Well, how could I hear anything else?
You might have done. If the murderer had left the hall that way, he might have heard you coming from the kitchen, ducked up the back stairs or into the dining room.
Oh, I think... I'm not sure, but I think I may have heard a door creak and shut just as I came out of the kitchen.
Which door?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, Mrs. Ralston, upstairs, downstairs, left, right, closer there.
I don't know. I'm not even sure. I heard anything now.
Can't you stop bullying her? Can't you see she's all in?
We're investigating the murder here, Mr. Ralston. Now, up to now, none of you have taken this thing seriously. Mrs. Boyle didn't. She held out on me with information. You all held out on me with information. Well, Mrs. Boyle is dead. And unless we get to the bottom of this, and quickly, mind, there may well be another murder.
Another? Nonsense. Why?
Because there were 3 blind mice.
A death for each of them? But there would have to be some connection. I mean, another connection with this Longridge Farm business.
Yes, it would have to be that.
But why another death here?
Because there were only 2 addresses in the notebook. Now, at 24 Culver Street, there was only one possible victim. Here in Monkswell Manor, we've a much wider field.
Surely it would be the most unlikely coincidence that there should be 2 people brought here by chance, both with the share of the Longridge Farm case.
Not that much of a coincidence, Miss Casewell. Think it out. Now, I want to get down quite clearly where everybody was at the time of the murder. Now, Mrs. Ralston, I've already got your statement. You were in the kitchen preparing vegetables. You've left the kitchen, the passage, through the swinging doors, into the hall and in here. The light was switched off, the radio was blaring and the hall was dark. Turned on the light, saw Mrs. Boyle and screamed.
So screamed, and at last people came.
That's as you say, a lot of different people coming from a lot of different directions. Now, at the time I climbed out that window, Mr. Ralston, you'd gone upstairs to check the extension. Where were you when you heard Mrs. Ralston scream?
I was still up in the bedroom. The extension telephone was there too. I looked out of the window to see if I could see any sign of the wires being cut, but I couldn't. After I closed the window again, I heard Molly scream and I rushed down.
Those simple actions took you rather a long time, didn't they, Mr. Ralston?
I don't think so.
I should say you definitely took your time over it.
I was thinking about something.
I see. Mr. Wren, I'll have your account of where you were.
Well, I was in the kitchen, seeing if there was anything I could do to help Mrs. Ralston. I adore cooking. After that, I went up to my bedroom.
Why?
What's the perfectly normal thing to do is go to one's bedroom. One wants to be alone sometimes.
You went up to your room because you wanted to be alone.
Yes, and I wanted to brush my hair. Tidy up.
You wanted to brush your hair?
Yes, well, that's where I was.
And you heard Mrs. Ralston scream?
Yes,
And you came down?
yes.
Curious that you didn't run into Mr. Ralston on the stairs on your way.
Yes. Well, no, I went down by the back stairs. They're closer to my bedroom.
Did you go up to your room by the back stairs? Or did you come through here?
Yes, I went up by the back stairs too.
So you did. Mr. Parafficini.
I have told you, eh? I was playing the piano in the drawing room, Brother Inspector.
I'm not an inspector, Mr. Parafficini, just a sergeant. Did anyone hear you playing the piano in there?
I do not expect so, eh? I was playing very, very softly with one finger.
Nice.
Hey now!
Yeah? It is a very catchy little tune. Or it is a haunting little tune, eh?
It's horrible.
Eh? And but it ran in people's heads, huh? And someone was whistling into...
Where? Whistling at where?
I do not know, I'm not sure. Perhaps in the front hall. But perhaps in the stairs, perhaps in the bedroom.
Who was whistling Three Brown Mice? You What, Mr. Parravicini?
No, Inspector! I beg your pardon. Sir, no, I do not see those things like that, no? No.
Well, go on. You were in the drawing room playing the piano.
With one finger.
One thing.
And then I hear it play the radio, you know, very, very loud. And someone is shouting, and it's so loud, it got fun in my ears, you know. And then suddenly, I hear Mrs. Rassen screaming.
Mr. Ralston, upstairs. Mr. Wren, upstairs. Mr. Parravicini, in the drawing room, with one finger. Miss Casewell.
I found the letters in the library.
Could you hear what was going on in here?
I didn't hear anything until Mrs. Ralston screamed.
What did you do then?
I came in here.
At once?
I think so.
You say you were writing letters at the time you heard Mrs. Ralston scream.
Yes.
And then you already got up from the writing table and came in?
Yes.
Yeah. There doesn't appear to be any unfinished letters on the writing desk in the library.
I brought it with me.
Dearest Jessie, friend of yours or a relative?
None of your damn business.
Perhaps not. Well, you know something? If I was writing a letter and someone in the next room was screaming blue murder, I don't think I'd take the time to pick up my unfinished letter, fold it, and put it away in my handbag before going to see what's the matter.
You wouldn't? How interesting.
Major Metcalf, you say you were in the cellars. Why?
Looking around. Just looking around. I looked into that cupboard place under the stairs near the kitchen, a lot of junk and sports tackle, and I noticed there was another door inside it. I opened it and saw a flight of steps. I was curious and I went down. Nice cellars you've got.
Glad you liked them.
Not at all. Crypt of an old monastery, I should say. Probably why this place is called Monkswell.
We're not engaged in antiquarian research here, Major Metcalf. We're investigating a murder. Now, Mrs. Ralston has already told us that she heard a door creak as she came along the hallway. That particular door shuts with a creak.
A lot of things could be...
Oh yes, I say, there would be fingerprints on the inside of the cupboard.
Mine are there, all right. But most criminals are careful to wear gloves, aren't they?
As usual. But all criminals slip up sooner or later.
I do wonder, Sergeant, is that always true?
Okay, aren't we wasting time? There's only one person here.
Mr. Ralston, please. I'm in charge of this investigation.
Oh, very well, but you see...
Mr. Ralston, please!
You know who killed that woman in Culver Street. You think it's the youngest of those 3 children at the farm, a mentally abnormal young man of 23 years of age. Well, damn it all, there's only one person here that fits the bill.
It's not true! It's not true! You're all against me! Everyone's always been against me! You're going to frame me for a murder! It's persecution! That's what it is! It's persecution!
Steady, lad, steady.
It's all right, Chris. Nobody's against you. Tell him it's all right.
We don't frame people.
Tell him you're not going to arrest him.
I'm not arresting anybody. I'd have to have evidence to do that. I haven't got any evidence yet.
I think you're crazy, Molly. And you too. There's only one person here who fits the bill. And if only as a safety measure, he ought to be put under arrest. It's only fair to the rest of us.
Jonathan, no, wait, please. Sergeant Roger, could I speak with you a minute, please?
Certainly, Mrs. Ralston. But the rest of you go into the dining room. Today,
I'm staying.
No, Charles, you too, please.
I'm staying! I don't know what's come over you, Molly.
Charles, please. Just please do this for me, thank you.
now, Mrs. Ralston, what was it you wanted to say to me?
Sergeant Roger, you think that this crazy killer must be the eldest of those 3 boys at the farm, but you don't know that, do you?
You don't really know anything. So far, all we have is the woman who joined with her husband in starving those poor children has been killed. And the woman magistrate responsible for putting the children there has been killed. The telephone wire collecting me to police headquarters has been cut.
But you don't even know that, do you? I mean, it may have just been the snow.
No, Mrs. Ralston, it was deliberately cut out there by the front door of our place.
I see.
Sit down, Mrs. Ralston.
But all the same, saying. You don't know.
Mrs. Ralston, I'm only going by probability. It all points one direction. Mental instability, childish mentality, desertion from the army, and the army psychologist report.
Oh, I know. And therefore it all seems to point to Christopher. But I don't believe that it is Christopher. There must be other possibilities.
Such as?
Well, haven't those children any other relations at all?
Mother was a drunk, died soon after the children were taken from her.
And what about the father?
He was an army sergeant serving abroad. If he's still alive, probably discharged from the army by now.
You don't know where he is now?
No information. May take some time to trace him, but I assure you, Mrs. Ralston, police take every eventuality into account.
But you don't know where he is at this minute. And if the son was mentally unstable, then the father might be too.
That's a possibility.
Okay. When I said the murderer may be middle-aged or even old, I said the police rang up. Major Metcalf was frightfully upset. He really was. I saw his face.
Major Metcalf?
Yes, I know. Middle-aged, a soldier. Seems quite nice and perfectly normal, but it mightn't show, might it?
No, often it doesn't show at all.
So it's not only Christopher who's the suspect. There's Major Metcalf too.
Any other suggestions?
When I said the police rang up, Mr. Paravicini did drop the poker.
Mr. Paravicini.
Yes, I know. He seems quite old and everything, and foreign, but he might be as old as he looks. He skips about as though he were a much younger man, and he's definitely got makeup on his face. Miss Casewell noticed it too. I mean, I know it sounds very melodramatic, but he might be disguised.
Quite anxious, aren't you, Mrs. Ralston, that you shot me young Mr. Wren?
Well, you just seem so helpless somehow, and so unhappy.
Mrs. Ralston,
Yes.
I've had all possibilities in my head since the beginning. The elder brother Georgie, the father, and someone else. There was a sister too, remember?
A sister?
Could have been a woman who killed Mr. Stanning. Face covered with a muffler, hat pulled down, spoke in a whisper. It's the voice that gives the sex away. Yes, could well have been a woman.
Miss Casewell.
She looks a little old for the part. It's a very wide field. There's yourself, for instance.
Me?
You're at the right age.
I'm not me.
Nah, Mrs. Ralston. Whatever you tell me about yourself, I have no means of checking, remember? And then there's this, your husband.
Just ridiculous.
Just how much do you know about your husband, Mrs. Ralston?
How much do I know about Charles? Don't be silly.
How long have you two been married?
Just a year.
Where'd you meet him?
Just a dance in London. We went to a party.
Did you meet his people?
He hasn't got any people. They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Yes, but you make it sound all wrong. His father was a barrister and his mother died when he was a baby.
You're only telling me what he told you.
Yes, but
You don't know it of your own knowledge.
it's outrageous to suggest that.
Mrs. Ralston, you would be surprised how many cases just like yours we get, especially since the war. Homes broken, families gone. Fella says he's been in the Air Force or just finished his army training. Parents killed, no relations. Young people settle their own affairs. There are no backgrounds these days. It used to be that the parents or relations would make inquiries before consenting to an engagement. That's all done away with now. Girl just marries a man. Often, it's a year or two before she even realises he's an absconding bank clerk or an army deserter, something equally undesirable. Just how long had you known Giles Ralston before you married him?
Well, just 3 weeks, but...
And you don't know anything about him?
Well, that's not true. I know everything about him. I know exactly the sort of person he is. He's Giles, and it's absurd to suggest that he's some crazy, horrible, homicidal maniac. Why, he wasn't even in London yesterday when the murder took place.
Where was he? Yeah.
No. He went across town to get some chicken wire.
Bring it back with him, did he?
No, it turned out to be the wrong kind.
Only 30 miles from London. Oh, you have an ABC. 1 hour by train, a little longer by car.
I tell you, Giles wasn't in London yesterday.
Just a minute, Mrs. Ralston. coat.
Yes.
Wrong pocket. There we are. London Evening News. Sold on the streets yesterday about 3:30 in the afternoon.
Don't believe it.
Don't believe me, do you? Don't you, Mrs. Ralston? Don't you?
Molly! You stop. Where is he? Where's he gone?
Who?
The sergeant.
Went out that way.
If only I could get away from his house away. Is there anywhere I could hide in the house?
Hide?
Yes, from him.
Why?
Oh, but darling, don't so frightfully against me. They're going to say I committed those murders, particularly your husband.
Never mind him. Listen, Chris, you can't go on running away from things all your life.
Why would you say that?
Well, it's quite true, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it's true. It's quite true.
Your name isn't really Christopher Wren, is it?
No,
You're not really trained to be an architect, are you?
no.
So why did you?
Call myself Christopher Wren. Well, it just seemed to amuse me. And then when I was at school, they used to laugh at me. Call me little Christopher Robin Wren Association of Engineers. Hell being at school.
Well, what's your real name?
Oh, we needn't go into that now. You know, I was in the army. I ran away while I was in my army service. It was also beastly. I hated it. Yes, I'm just like the other murderer. I told you I was the one the specifications fitted. My mother, you see.
Oh, yes,
My
your
mother.
Your mother?
Oh, yes, well, everything would have been all right if she hadn't have died. She would have looked after me. She would have taken care of me.
Listen, Chris, you can't go on being looked after all your life. When things happen and you've just got to bear them. You've just got to carry on as usual.
Oh, but I can't do that.
Yes, one can.
Oh, you mean you?
Yes.
Oh, what was it? Something very bad?
Something horrible.
Oh, was it to do with Giles?
It was long before I met Giles.
Oh, he must have been very young when he was a child.
Oh, perhaps that's why it was so awful. It was horrible. I tried to put it out of my head. I try never to think of it.
Oh, so you're running away from things too, running away from things instead of facing them.
I suppose in a way I am.
Oh.
Considering we never saw each other till yesterday, we seem to know each other quite well.
Yes, that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah. Seems to be sort of sympathy between us.
Yes, so you think I should stick it out?
Well, frankly, what else can you do?
Well, I could pinch the sergeant's keys. I'm quite good at skiing.
You're frightfully stupid, almost like admitting you're guilty.
The sergeant Trotter thinks I am guilty.
No, he doesn't. At least I don't know what he thinks. You put things in your head. I hate him, hate him, hate him.
Who?
Sergeant.
I say, what is all this?
When he makes you think things that can't be true, can possibly be true.
I say, what is all this? Out with it now. Oh,
I don't believe it. I won't believe it.
don't you believe?
You see that?
Yes.
What is it? It's yesterday's evening paper, a London paper. It's in Giles' overcoat. And Giles wasn't in London yesterday.
Yes, I mean, if he was here all day.
Then he wasn't.
Oh.
He went across town to get some wire netting fried chickens, but he couldn't find any.
Oh, well, that's all right then. Oh, probably he did go to London after all.
Well, then why shouldn't he tell me he did? I pretend that he'd been racing around the countryside.
Yes, well, you know, perhaps with the news of this murder.
Giles didn't know about the murder.
Did he? Did he? Oh, you don't think? The sergeant doesn't think.
I don't know what the sergeant thinks. He can make you think things about people. You ask yourself questions and you begin to doubt. You think that somebody you love and know well might well be a stranger. That's what happens in a nightmare. You're somewhere in the middle of friends, and suddenly you look at their faces, and they're not your friends anymore. They're different people. Don't pretend. Perhaps you can't trust anyone. Perhaps everyone's a stranger.
I seem to be interrupting something.
No, we were just talking. I must go out to the kitchen. There's the pie and potatoes, and I must do the spinach, and
Can I give you a
Oh, no, you won't.
Giles!
You keep out of the kitchen and keep away from my wife.
I say, look here.
You keep away from my wife, Ren. She's not going to be the next victim.
So that's what you think about me.
I've already said so, haven't I? There's a killer on the loose in this house, and it seems to me that you fit the bill.
Oh, now hang on. I'm not the only one who fits the bill.
I tell you, I don't see anybody else who does.
How blind are you? Or do you just pretend to be blind?
I can tell you I'm worried about my wife's safety.
So am I. And I'm not leaving you alone here with her.
What the hell?
No, please go, Chris, please.
No, I'm not going.
No, please, Christopher, please, Christopher, please.
Christopher, I shan't be far away.
I mean, what's all this? Perfectly prepared to shut yourself up in the kitchen with a homicidal maniac. You've only got to look at him to see that he's balmy.
Oh, he isn't. He's just unhappy, that's all. I tell you, Giles, he's not dangerous. I know if he was dangerous. And anyway, I can look after myself.
That's what Mrs. Boyle said.
I don't!
Look here. What is there between you and that wretched boy?
What do you mean by between us? I'm sorry, Paul, that's all.
Perhaps you knew him before. Perhaps you suggested he come here and you both pretend to meet for the first time. All comes up between you, was it?
Giles, have you gone out of your mind? How dare you suggest these things?
Rather odd that he should come and stay at an out-of-the-way place like this.
No odder than Miss Casewell or Major Mancock or Mrs. Boyle, Shad.
I read in a paper once that these homicidal types were attractive to women. Looks as though that were true. Where did you first know him? How long has this been going
You're
on?
being absolutely ridiculous. I noticed that I was a Christopher renting right yesterday.
That's what you say. Perhaps you've been running up to London to meet him on the
Oh,
sly.
you know perfectly well I haven't been up to London in weeks.
You've not been to London for weeks. Is that so?
What on earth do you mean? It's quite true.
Is it?
Yes.
Then what's this? This is one of the gloves you were wearing yesterday. I picked it up this afternoon when I was talking to Sergeant Trotter. You see what's inside it? A London bus ticket.
Oh, that.
So it seems you didn't only go to the village yesterday, you went to London as well.
All right, I went.
Come on, admit it! You went to London.
All right, I went to London. So did you.
What?
So did you. You brought back an evening paper.
Where did you get hold of
It's in your
that?
overcoat pocket.
Anyone could have put it there.
If they know, you were in London.
What do you mean? I didn't go there to meet a woman there.
Oh, didn't you? Are you sure you didn't?
What are you saying? What do you mean?
Oh, don't come near me.
What's the matter?
Don't touch me.
Did you go to London yesterday to meet Christopher Wren?
You're being absolutely ridiculous. Of course I didn't.
Then why did you go?
I shan't remember. Perhaps I can't. I'll never tell you why I went.
Oh, what's come over you? You're different all of a sudden. I feel as though I don't know you anymore.
Perhaps you never did know me. You've been married. How long? A year? You just don't really know anything about me, do you? What I've done, what I've felt, I've suffered before you knew me.
Well, you're crazy.
Oh, all right then, I'm crazy. Why not? What's it fun to be crazy?
What the
I hope young people don't say little mean that's what you think, eh? One is too active in this lovers' quarters.
Those quarrels, that's good.
Quite so, quite so. I know just how you feel, huh? I've been through all this myself when I was a younger man, eh? La jeunesse, as the poet says, huh? Not being married long, I imagine.
It's no business of yours, Mr. Paragini.
No business at all. I just came in to say that the surgeon cannot find his keys, and I'm afraid he's very, very annoyed.
Christopher.
What did you say?
I just want to know if he, by any chance, moved that, Mr. Ralston.
Of course not.
Hey.
Mr. Ralston, Mrs. Ralston, have you taken my keys from the cupboard near the kitchen door?
Certainly not.
Well, somebody's taken them.
Oh, and what made you happen to look for them?
The snow is still lying. I need help here. Reinforcements. Ski over to the police station at Market-Hampton and report on the situation.
Oh, no, you can't. Oh, dear. Someone see to that Sean can't do it. But there could be another reason, couldn't there?
What?
Somebody may want to get away.
What did you mean? What did you mean?
Oh, so a young hattie that has hooked it, huh?
Is this true, Mrs. Ralston?
Very, very interesting.
Mr. Rex, have you taken my skis from the cupboard near the kitchen door?
Yeah, well, your skis are to do. Why should I?
Well, Mrs. Ralston seemed to think that...
Well, Mr. Wren is very fond of skiing. I thought he might have taken them to get a little exercise.
Exercise?
Now listen here, you people, this is a serious matter. Someone's removed my only chance of communication with the outside world. Now I want everybody here at once.
I think Miss Casey would it. She has gone upstairs, eh?
Oh, guess what?
And I left Major Metcalf in the dining room. Major Metcalf! It's not there now.
I'll go get you.
Hello, wanting me?
It's a question of my skis.
Please?
Mr. Rolston!
Did either of you two take my skis from the cupboard near the kitchen door?
Oh, no, why should I?
And I didn't touch them.
Nevertheless, they are gone. Which way did you go to your room?
By the back stairs.
Then you passed by that cupboard door.
Whatever you say.
You were actually in that cupboard earlier on.
Yes, I was.
At the time Mrs. Boyle was killed.
At the time Mrs. Boyle was killed, I'd gone down to the cellars.
Were my skis in that cupboard when you passed through?
I haven't the least idea.
Didn't you see him there?
Can't remember.
You must remember if you saw
Don't
him
go
there.
shouting at me, young fellow. I wasn't thinking about any damn skis. I was interested in the cellars. Architecture of this place is very interesting. I opened the other door and I went on down, so I can't tell you whether the skis were there or not.
You realise that you yourself had an excellent opportunity of taking them.
Yes, yes, I grant you that. If I wanted to, that is.
Question is, where are they now?
Ought to be able to find them if we all set to. Not a case of hunt the thimble, whacking great things skis. Supposing we all set to.
Not so fast, Major Metcalf. That might be, you know, what he wants us to do.
I don't get you.
I'm in a place now where I've got to place myself inside a crazy, cunning brain. I've got to try and think what he wants us to do and what he's going to do next. I have to stay one step ahead. If I don't, there may well be another murder.
So don't believe that, do you?
Yes, Miss Casewell, I do. 3 blind mice, 2 cancelled out, 1 little mouse still to be dealt with. Now, there are 6 of you here. 1 of you is a killer. 1 of you is a killer. 1 of you is a killer's prospective victim. That's who I'm talking to. That's who I'm talking to. Mrs. Boyle held out on me. Mrs. Boyle is dead. You, whoever you are holding out on me. And let me tell you this. Anybody who's already killed twice isn't going to hesitate in killing a 3rd time. Oh, calm down, people. Anybody who has anything, however slight, to approach themselves off in this bygone business, you had better speak up. All right? You won't. I'm going to catch this killer. I have no doubt of that. But it might be too late for one of you. And let me tell you this. He's enjoying this. He's enjoying this a good deal. All right, you can go.
Talking of chicken, young lady. Have you ever tried chicken's livers? Served on toast, thickly smeared with foie gras, and with a very thin rasher of bacon, and just touched with a fresh soupçon of moustache. I will come into the kitchen and we will concoct something together. A charming occupation.
I'm helping my wife, Mr. Parravicini.
Oh, your husband is afraid for you. Quite natural under the circumstances, eh? He doesn't fancy you being alone with me. Oh. But
Your
he's...
sadistic tendency to like.
No, it's not. You fear my sadistic tendencies, not my dishonorable ones. What I mean, convict now is always bad, the husband always is, huh? Arrivederci, huh?
Charles doesn't think that...
He's very wise. Take no chances, huh? But can I prove to you, or to him, or to the stupid second, that I am not out? The homicidal maniac, huh? How difficult to prove negative, huh? And suppose it then really, doom, doom, doom.
Stop frightening my wife at once!
It's silly of me, but just I found her. Her face is all purple, and I just can't forget it.
It's difficult to forget things, huh? Oh, it is? You know, the kind of forgetting kind, huh? What?
I'm scared. The food, dinner, I've been burning all this food. The potatoes going to ruins, and oh, please, Charles!
What have you said to upset the lady, sir?
You sad? Well, nothing. Just a little fun. I like joking. Eh? You?
Well, it's nice fun, and it's not so much fun.
Now, I do wonder what you mean by that, Sergeant.
Well, I've been doing a little wondering about you too, Mr. Parravicini.
Oh, indeed?
I've been wondering about this car of yours, and how it happened to turn over in a snowdrift. So conveniently.
Yeah, inconveniently, you mean, Sergeant.
Rather depends on how you're looking at it. Just where were you bound for when you had this little accident?
I was on my way to see a friend.
In this neighbourhood?
Not very far from here.
What was the name and address for this friend?
No, really, Sergeant. Doesn't matter now. Eh? This has to do with this predicament. Has nothing to do with it.
Well, we do like to get the fullest of information. What did you say this friend's name was?
I didn't say.
No, that's right. You didn't say. And it doesn't look like you're going to say. Now that's very interesting.
But there can be many reasons, Sergeant. An amour discrétion. You know, these jealous husbands, huh? Today, it's difficult.
Little old to be running around after the ladies at your time of life, aren't you, son?
Sergeant, I do not look quite so old as I am.
That's just what I've been thinking.
What?
You may not be as old as you try to look. Now, there's a lot of people running around trying to look younger than they are. But when you come across someone who's trying to make themselves look older, it does make one ask oneself, why?
Inspector, having asked questions of so many people and you start asking questions of yourself, isn't that not overdoing things? Huh?
Well, I might get some answers from myself. I'm not getting any from you.
Well, try. That is if you have any other question to ask.
One or two. Where were you coming from last night?
That is very simple, from London.
What address in London?
I stay at the Ritz Hotel.
Very nice too, I'm sure.
It is.
What's your business or profession?
I play the markets.
Stockbroker?
No, you misunderstand me, Sergeant.
Enjoying this little game, aren't you, Mr. Parravicini?
See.
Sure of yourself too, aren't you? Well, I wouldn't be too sure, Mr. Parravicini. You're mixed up in the murder here. Murder isn't all fun and games, you know.
Not even this murder? Oh, dear me, Sergeant, you're very serious. Huh? Always thinks policemen have no sense of humor. Is this inquisition over for the moment?
For the moment, yes.
Thank you very much. I shall go and look for his keys. Perhaps someone has hidden them in the grand piano, eh?
Yeah, I'll bang your head on the way out. Just a minute, please.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes? Perhaps you might come and sit down.
What do you want?
You might have heard some of the questions I was asking Mr. Parravicini.
I heard them.
I'd like to get a little information from you.
Oh, what do you want to know?
Full name, please.
Leslie Margaret Catherine Casewell.
Catherine.
I spelled it with a K.
Oh, quite. Address?
Villa Mariposa, Pine Door, Mallorca.
New York. That's in Italy.
It's an island, a Spanish island.
I see. What's your address in England?
Care of Morgan's Bank, Leaden Hall Street.
No other English address?
No.
No other English address. How long have you been in England?
A week.
And you've been staying since you arrived?
At the Knightsbridge Hotel.
What brought you to Monkswell Manor?
I wanted somewhere quiet in the country.
How long had you intended, or do you intend to remain here?
Until I've finished what I've come here to do.
And what was that? And what was that?
Eh?
What was it you came here to do?
I beg your pardon, I was thinking of something else.
You haven't answered the question.
I really don't see you know why I should. It's a matter that concerns me alone. It's strictly a private affair.
All the same, Miss Casewell.
No, I don't think we'll argue about it.
Do you mind if I ask you how old you are?
Not in the least. It's on my passport. I'm 24.
24.
You're thinking I look older. That's quite true.
Is there anyone in this country who can vouch for you?
My bank can reassure you of my financial position. I can also refer you to a solicitor, a very discreet man. I'm not in a position to offer any social references. I've lived most of my life abroad.
In Mallorca?
New York and other places.
Were you born abroad?
No, I was born in England. I left when I was 13.
You know, Miss Casewell, I can't quite make you out.
Does it matter?
I don't know. What are you doing here?
It seems to worry you.
It does a little. You say you left England when you were 13.
12, 13, thereabouts.
Was your name Casewell then?
It's my name now.
What was your name then? Come on, tell me.
It's a long time ago. I've forgotten.
Some things one doesn't forget.
Perhaps.
Unhappiness? Despair?
I dare say.
What was your name when you left England?
What are you trying to prove?
What's your real name?
I told you, Leslie Margaret Catherine Casewell.
Catherine? What are you doing here?
Oh God. I wish to God I'd never come here.
I told the police weren't allowed to give people the third degree.
I was merely interrogating Miss Casewell.
Oh, you seem to have upset her. What did he do?
No, it's nothing. It's just all this murder. It came over me suddenly. I'll go to my room.
I don't believe it.
Oh, what don't you believe?
It's impossible.
6 impossible things before breakfast, like to a queen.
Yeah, rather like that, yeah.
Oh, I say something to you. You look as though you've seen a ghost.
I've seen something I ought to have seen before. Blind as a bat I've been.
I see him.
But I think we might be able to get somewhere now.
Will the police have a clue, do they?
Yes, Miss. Finally, the police have a clue. I want everyone assembled here. Do you know where they are?
Well, let's see. Oh, Molly and Giles are in the kitchen. Myself and Mr. Metcalf have been searching for the skis. We search in the most entertaining places, but to no avail. I don't know where Mr. Pallavicini is.
Right. I'll get him, you get the others. Mr. Pallavicini! Mr. Pallavicini! Mr. Pallavicini!
Yes! Sergeant! What can I do for you? Oh, little good policeman has lost his keys and doesn't know where to find them. Leave him alone. And then come home, eh? Drag a murderer behind him. Oh.
What is all this?
Sit down, Major Metcalf. Sorry for interrupting your meal, Mrs. Ralston, but some things are more important than meals. Mrs. Boyle, for example, won't be wanting any more meals.
That's a very tactless way of putting things, Sergeant.
I'm sorry, but I want cooperation here and I intend to get it. Mr. Ralston, would you go upstairs and get Miss Casewell? She went to her room. Tell her it'll only take a few minutes.
His skis been found, Sergeant.
No, Mrs. Ralston, they haven't. But I have a very shrewd idea of who took them and why they were taken.
But why is that?
You will forgive me if I don't go into that just at this minute.
Yeah, please don't. That full explanation should be kept to the very end, you know, that exciting last chapter.
This isn't a game, sir.
Oh, isn't it? No, that's where I think you're wrong. I think it is a game. To somebody.
Do you think that he's enjoying himself, eh? Maybe. Maybe.
What is happening?
Sit down, Miss Casewell. Mrs. Ralston. Familiarise yourself, Mr. Paravicini. Now, you may remember earlier, after the murder of Mrs. Boyle, I took statements from you all. Those statements related to your whereabouts in the house at the time of the murder. Those statements were as follows. Mr. Ralston, upstairs. Mr. Wren, upstairs. Mrs. Ralston, in the kitchen. Mr. Paravicini, in the drawing room. Miss Casewell, in the library. And Major Metcalf, in the cellars.
Correct.
Now, those were the statements you gave me. I had no means of checking whether they were true or whether they were false. But quite clearly, 5 of them were true, 1 of them was false. Which one? 5 of you were speaking the truth, 1 of you lied. If I find out who is lying, then I know who the murderer is.
Not necessarily. Someone may have lied for some other reason.
I rather doubt that.
What's the idea? You've just said you've no means of checking these statements.
No. But if everyone wants to go through those actions a second time,
Wow, the old chestnut, the reconstruction of the crime.
That's a very foreign idea.
See.
not the reconstruction of a crime, Mr. Paravicini, the reconstruction of the movements of apparently innocent people.
And what do you expect to learn from that?
Again, you'll have to forgive me if I don't go into that right now.
You want a repeat performance?
Yes, Mr. Olsen, I do.
It's a trap.
What do you mean it's a trap?
Well, it's a trap, I know it is.
I only want people to do exactly what they did earlier.
But I simply can't see what you could possibly hope to find out by making people do exactly what they did before. I think it's nonsense.
Do you, Mr. Wren?
And you can count me out, I'm much too busy in the kitchen.
Oh.
And then I will return, and to the drawing room and pick up with the same finger the signature tune of the murder. Doom, doom, doom.
Not so fast, Mr. Paravicini.
Okay.
Mrs. Rosen,
Yes.
do you play piano?
Well, yes, I do.
And do you know the tune of the Three Blind Mice?
Oh, well, don't we all know it?
Good. Then you can pick it out on the piano with one finger, just as Mr. Paravicini did earlier on.
Of course, we'll cooperate. We'll do whatever you say, Sergeant. Eh, Mummy?
Oh, very well.
Wren? Miss Casewell?
Yes.
Paravicini?
Oh yes, I consent.
Major?
Yes.
Are we to do exactly what we did before, then?
The same actions are to be repeated, yes.
But
Now, Mrs. Rosen,
I
do you mind
was
going in and sitting at the piano and wait for my signal?
no, we say that we repeat our former rules.
The same actions will be repeated, but not necessarily by the same people.
I can see the point.
There is a point. It's a way of checking on the original statements, and one statement in particular. Now, will you all listen carefully, and I shall assign you your new stations. Mr. Red, would you kindly go down to the kitchen? Keep an eye on Mrs. Ralston's dinner. You're very fond of cooking, I believe. Mr. Paravicini, would you go up to Mr. Wren's room, please? The back stairs is the most convenient way. Major Metcalf, would you mind going up to Mr. and Mrs. Ralston's room and checking on the telephone up there? Miss Casewell, would you go down to the cellars? Mr. Wren will show you the way. Now, unfortunately, somebody has to mimic my own actions. I'm sorry to ask this of you, Mr. Ralston, but would you mind climbing out that window and following the telephone wire around to the front door? Rather a chilly job, but you seem like the toughest one here.
And what are you going to do?
I shall be playing the part of Mrs. Boyle.
Taking a bit of a risk, aren't you?
Now, you would all to go to your places and remain there until I give the signal. All right?
What part of things, eh?
Okay.
Any objection to my wearing a coat?
I should advise it so. Take my torch, Mr. Rolls. Stay behind the curtain. and begin to play. Mrs. Ralston! Mrs. Ralston!
Yes, what is it? You're looking very pleased with yourself. Have you got what you wanted?
Oh, yes. I've got exactly what I wanted.
You know who the murderer is?
Yes, I do.
Which of them?
You ought to know, Mrs. Ralston.
I.
Calm now, Mrs. Ralston. Us policemen aren't as dumb as you think. I've known all along that you've had first-hand knowledge of the Longridge Farm case. And you knew Mrs. Boyle was the magistrate concerned. In fact, you knew all about it.
I don't understand. I wanted to forget.
Your maiden name was Waring.
Yes.
Miss Waring.
Yes.
You taught school.
Yes.
At the school where those children went. It's true, isn't it? That little Jimmy, the boy who died, he managed to get a letter posted to you, didn't he? A letter begging for help. Help from his kind young teacher. You never answered that letter.
I couldn't. I never got it.
You just didn't bother.
Oh, that's not true. I was ill. I went down with pneumonia that very day. The letter was put aside with the whole of other letters. It's only weeks afterwards that I got it. And by then, the poor child was dead. 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 He'd been waiting for me to do something. Hoping. And gradually losing hope. It's haunted me ever since. If only I'd known. If only I hadn't been ill. Oh, it's monstrous that such things can happen.
Yes. It's monstrous.
I didn't think the police carried revolvers.
Police don't. I'm not a policeman, Mrs. Ralston. You thought I was a policeman because I rang from a call box and said I was Superintendent Ogden. And Sergeant Trotter was on his way. You know who I am, Mrs. Ralston? I'm Georgie. Jimmy's elder brother. Georgie. I'd like to talk to you a little. I said, I'd like to talk to you a little about how Jimmy died. That nasty woman killed him. I said I'd kill her one day. And I did. In the fog. It was great fun. I'm going to kill you in a minute.
You'd better not. You'd never get safely away, you know.
Someone's taken my skis. I can't find them anymore. Doesn't matter. I don't really mind whether I get away. I'm tired now. It's all been such fun. Watching you all running around, pretending to be a policeman.
The revolver is going to make a lot of noise.
Oh, yes, it will, rather. Much better to do it in the usual way. Take you by the neck, my last little mouse in the trap.
Georgie! 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 You know me, don't you? Don't you remember the farm, Georgie? That battle pig, the day the bull chased across the field, and the dogs.
Dogs?
Yes, sport and playing.
Kathy,
You remember me now, don't you?
it is you.
Yes, I came to England to find you. I didn't recognise you until you twirled your head the way you always used to do. Yes, you always did it, Georgie. Come with me.
But
You're coming with me.
where are you going?
I'm taking you somewhere where they can look after you and see that you won't do any more harm.
Monster! Monster!
told me.
I wanted to forget. It's awful. Thank God you're here right now.
Molly, darling.
Gosh. I'm going to go and find out. Where's Major Metcalf? Major Metcalf! What's happening?
Everything's under control. He will be unconscious soon with a sedative. His sister's looking after him. Poor fellow's as mad as a hatter, of course. I've had my suspicions of him all along.
Didn't you believe he was a policeman?
I knew he wasn't a policeman. You see, Mrs. Ralston, I am a policeman. As soon as we got hold of that notebook with Monkswell Manor written in it, we knew it was vital to have someone on the spot. When it was put to him, Major Metcalf agreed to let me take his place. I couldn't understand it when Trotter turned up.
And Casewell is his sister.
Yes, it seems she recognized him just before this last business. Didn't know what to do, but fortunately called me about it just in time. Well, it started to fall. Hope she'll be here pretty soon. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Ralston, I'll remove those skis. I hid them on top of the front poster.
Oh. I thought it was Parravicini.
I gather they'll examine that car of his rather carefully. I shouldn't be surprised if they found 1,000 or so watches in the spare wheel. That's his line of business, Molly. A little bit of goods. Molly, I believe you thought that I was...
Well, Giles, what were you doing in London yesterday?
Darling, I was buying you an anniversary present. We're married just a year today.
That's what I went to London for, but I didn't want you to know.
Yeah.
I get it. Cigars. I do hope they're the right kind.
Darling, they're wonderful. They're splendid.
You will smoke them.
Oh, I'll smoke them. Eventually.
What's my present? Where is it?
Oh, I almost forgot.
Oh,
A hat.
a hat, but I've got to get one.
Just the best.
How lovely, darling.
Try it on.
Oh no, later when my hair's done properly.
You do like it. The girl in the shop said it was just the thing in hats.
Mrs. Ralston! Mrs. Ralston! There's a terrible smell of burning coming from the kitchen!
Oh, my pie!